They told you to study hard, get a good job, play it safe, save your pennies, and maybe, just maybe, one day you'd be successful. But they never told you this. They never told you that wealth isn't built by playing small. It isn't earned by waiting your turn. And it sure as hell isn't found in a textbook written by people who never built anything themselves. The real truth about wealth? It's brutal, it's beautiful, and it's hidden, buried beneath years of conditioning, distraction, and quiet desperation. You won't find it in a classroom. You won't learn it from your paycheck, because this truth must be earned. Not with money, but with mindset, with belief, with relentless, unstoppable action. Today, we strip away the lies. We dig deep into the heart of what it really takes to rise, to become more, to unlock the kind of wealth that doesn't just change your bank account, but transforms your entire life. This isn't a motivational speech. This is a wake-up call. This is the truth about wealth they never taught you.
They told you to go to school, get good grades, get a job, and save money. They told you that working hard was enough. They told you that wealth comes to those who deserve it. But they never told you the truth. Not the real truth. Not the kind of truth whispered behind closed doors and echoed in the private circles of the wealthy elite. Because the truth about wealth is not taught. It is discovered. It is earned not through labor alone, but through clarity, belief, and unshakable vision. Wealth, real wealth, does not begin in the hands. It begins in the mind. And not the logical, calculated parts, no. It begins in that deep, almost unreachable part of you where desire burns like a sacred fire, where imagination dares to defy reality. The poor are trained to think in terms of survival. The wealthy are trained to think in terms of creation. Understand this. The man who works 12 hours a day swinging a hammer is not lazier than the man who owns the construction company. He is not less human, not less moral, not less deserving. But he is playing a different game, a game with different rules. And the first rule of the wealthy is this: wealth flows to those who think differently. You see, wealth is not the product of circumstance. It is the product of philosophy, a quiet, radical rebellion against the default settings of society. It is the ability to see opportunity where others see obstacles, to hear possibility when others are drowning in doubt, to speak vision into a world addicted to noise. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before he gave the world light. Henry Ford was ridiculed for believing every family could own a car. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because he lacked imagination. These men were not lucky. They were not simply talented. They were dangerous to mediocrity because they understood something most never will. That wealth begins when you stop accepting life as it is and start demanding it as it could be. The average person waits for permission. The wealthy person creates the invitation. They do not wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. And that is the first truth you were never told. Wealth is a decision long before it becomes a reality. It is forged in silence, in solitude, in moments when no one believes in you, not even you. But if you can hold on long enough, if you can plant the seed of belief deep enough, you will awaken the force that separates the dreamers from the doers. And that force is unstoppable because it comes from within.
Inside every human being, there lies a reservoir of untapped potential. But potential means nothing without the courage to claim it. And courage is not loud.
It's not the roar of the crowd or the applause of the masses. Courage is quiet. It's the whisper at 4 a.m. telling you to try again. It's the decision to stand tall even when your knees shake. It's choosing vision over visibility. They never taught you that wealth has less to do with money and more to do with clarity. Clarity is the compass in the storm. It's the light that cuts through the fog of distraction, opinion, and fear. Without it, you can work hard your entire life and still end up nowhere, busy, exhausted, and broke. But with clarity, a single hour of focused action is worth more than 10 years of blind hustle. Clarity gives birth to direction. Direction gives rise to purpose. And purpose, that's the energy that never runs dry. Carnegie, Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, these men didn't stumble into fortune. They weren't simply riding waves, they were building them because they had clarity. They saw the world not as it was, but as they could mold it. They had vision so strong it made the impossible inevitable. Most people are stuck chasing money, but the wealthy, they chase meaning, impact, legacy, because they know that money is a byproduct, not the goal. Money follows value, and value is created by those with clarity of mind and boldness of heart. You were taught to fit in, but wealth demands that you stand out. You were taught to follow rules, but wealth is found by those who rewrite them. You were taught to play it safe, but safety is the death of greatness. Do not confuse movement with progress. Do not confuse routine with purpose, and never confuse approval with success. The world may not understand your fire. That's not their job. It's yours to guard it, to feed it, and to let it become so bright that even your enemies must squint. The truth is, wealth isn't just about income. It's about outcome. The outcome of your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns, your standards. Raise them and everything changes. Lower them and everything falls. So here's what they never taught you. You do not need permission to become wealthy. You need a reason so big, so soul-stirring that excuses can no longer survive in its presence. Once you find that reason, wealth begins to chase you. You were not born to chase scraps. You were born to build empires, within and without. But to build, you must believe. And belief is the soil from which every fortune grows. Not belief in trends, not belief in luck, belief in yourself. When there's no evidence, no support, no applause. The world will always doubt what it cannot see. But you must be able to see it before it's visible. The greats were never just dreamers. They were builders of invisible things. They stared into nothing and saw something. While others mocked, they mapped. While others feared, they forged. Abraham Lincoln stood when his nation fell apart. He was broken inside, but unwavering in purpose. Why? Because he believed that something greater could be born from ruin. And so must you. The pathway to wealth is not paved with gold. It is carved from belief. Belief that you are the source, not the system. The system may delay you, underestimate you, try to contain you, but it cannot stop you unless you agree. And make no mistake, every time you settle for less than you desire, every time you shrink your dreams to fit your surroundings, every time you let fear vote on your future, you are agreeing to stay poor. Poor in money, poor in mindset, poor in purpose. Because poverty is not just an economic state. It is a mental prison. A trap built by fear, locked by doubt, and guarded by your comfort zone. The key? It's always been with you. It is belief in motion. Belief that shows up as action every day without guarantees. They never taught you that the wealthiest people risk more than money. They risk their ego, their image, their sense of certainty, because they know that nothing great is born from safety. Everything extraordinary demands the death of the ordinary. You want to be rich? Then stop trying to look successful and start doing the invisible work that makes success inevitable. Read when others sleep. Build when others gossip. Invest in your mind like it's your empire, because it is. And when you believe in yourself deeply enough, when your vision becomes a non-negotiable truth in your bones, you become magnetic. Opportunities find you. People align with you. Doors unlock. Not because they're easy, but because you have become the key. The truth is, the external world bends to the will of the internal one, but only when the internal world is fortified, not with noise, but with discipline. Discipline is the bridge between thought and result. It is the daily devotion to your future, even when today offers no reward. It is the act of saying yes to vision and no to distraction. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet, repetitive, unapplauded. But it's where wealth is born. Andrew Carnegie said he could do nothing without organized effort. You can have the best ideas in the world, the most dazzling visions, but without discipline, they are hallucinations. Discipline takes your vision out of the clouds and forges it into bricks. Bricks that build your future. Look around. The undisciplined live in cycles. They start strong and vanish at the first sign of resistance. But the disciplined, they endure. They are unmoved by boredom, untouched by setbacks. They understand that momentum favors the man who refuses to quit. Wealth is not an event. It's a process, a slow burn, not a spark. It demands that you show up after the excitement is gone. It asks you to execute when no one is watching, to keep your promises to yourself when no one is clapping. Every empire was built in silence before it echoed through history. Every fortune began with one person, one mind, who decided that excuses were no longer acceptable. Discipline is freedom. It is freedom from chaos, freedom from regret, freedom from mediocrity. But it will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you approval. It will cost you the version of yourself that settled for less. And that is a cost worth paying, because what you gain in return is power. Not power over others, but over yourself. And once you control yourself, wealth is simply a matter of when, not if. They never taught you this, because most people don't want to pay that price. They want shortcuts, secrets, hacks. But the truth is, the real secret is consistency. Do what matters even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it, because that is where your wealth is hiding, in the moments most people abandon. If you can master your mornings, you will master your momentum. If you can master your habits, you will master your outcomes. If you can master your mind, you will master your destiny. Wealth does not come to the man who waits. It comes to the man who moves, not recklessly, not aimlessly, but with vision that pierces through the fog of uncertainty. Vision is not a daydream. It is not a wish. It is a vow, a declaration to life that says, this is who I am and this is what I will create, no matter what stands in my way. Martin Luther King Jr. had a vision, not for comfort, not for convenience, but for transformation. A vision so powerful it outlived his body. Because real vision is immortal. It plants itself in the hearts of generations. You must have a vision that terrifies your limits, one that pulls you out of bed when the world tells you to sleep. A vision that demands a new version of you, bolder, sharper, relentless. Without vision, you are just motion without meaning. With it, you become inevitable. The world will ask you to shrink. Your vision will ask you to expand. The world will say, be realistic. Your vision will say, be relentless. And between those voices, you must choose. Most people never choose. They drift. They react. They exist inside other people's opinions. But wealth belongs to the deciders, the ones who take responsibility for every thought, every step, every outcome. No blaming, no waiting, no begging, just ownership. Because vision without responsibility is just fantasy. But vision with responsibility, that's alchemy. It turns ideas into income. It turns setbacks into strategy. It turns rejection into resilience. And that's the next truth they never taught you. You will be rejected. You will be doubted. You will be misunderstood. And that is your advantage. Because every no sharpens the blade. Every closed door teaches you to build your own. Every failure, that's just data, feedback, fuel. The wealthy don't fear failure, they mine it. They extract wisdom from it. Because they know that on the other side of enough failures is freedom. You are not meant to avoid pain. You are meant to transform it, to turn wounds into wisdom and wisdom into wealth. Not just financial wealth, but spiritual wealth, mental wealth, relational wealth. Because what good is money if your mind is broke? What good is success if your soul is starving? You must build both the external and the internal, or the entire house collapses under its own weight. Wealth is not just what you have, it's who you become.
And who you become is determined in silence. Not when you're in the spotlight, but when no one's watching. Not when it's easy, but when it's hell. That's where character is forged, in the moments you want to quit and don't. The wealthy build their inner fortress brick, by mastering their emotions, their responses, their patterns. Most people are slaves to circumstance. They let the outside world control their inner world. But the wealthy, they reverse it. They understand that mindset is not a trend. It's the foundation. It's the engine. It's the edge. A man with a calm mind is a man with infinite leverage. Because while others panic, he plans. While others react, he recalibrates. While others run from adversity, he invites it. Because he knows pressure creates diamonds, not comfort. And that's what they never told you. Wealth isn't comfortable. It's not tidy. It's violent in its demand for self-control. You will have to give up your addictions, not just to substances, but to doubt, to gossip, to distraction, to mediocrity. The wealthy do not consume, they create. They don't chase entertainment, they chase elevation. They don't count the hours, they make the hours count. That's what separates them. Not privilege, not luck, not connections. Standards. When you raise your standards, everything else rises with them. Your income, your relationships, your energy. But standards come with a price. You will lose people. You will be called arrogant. You will be labeled obsessed. And you must be. Because the path to wealth is narrow, not crowded. It is walked by the few, not followed by the many. And once you walk it, you start to see it. How most people live in illusion. They measure wealth by cars, by followers, by vacations. But the real wealthy, they measure it by time, by peace, by choice. To wake up and do what you love, to build what matters, to say no without apology. That is real wealth, the kind they never taught you to pursue. They gave you formulas, but not freedom. They taught you how to obey,
not how to own. But now you know, and knowing is not enough. You must act, because truth without action is just noise. Action is the great separator. It's what turns dreamers into doers. It's what carves legends from the clay of ordinary men. Every idea that has ever changed the world began as a whisper and was made real by someone who moved. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan. You need movement. You need to stop analyzing and start executing, because clarity comes through doing, not sitting, not waiting. Most people wait for motivation, but the wealthy, they don't rely on emotion. They rely on ritual. They act regardless of how they feel, because they understand that action creates momentum. And momentum, that's the force that can turn a $100 idea into a $1 million movement. Walt Disney was rejected by 302 banks before someone said yes. Do you think he was waiting to feel motivated on rejection number 294? No. He had vision. He had belief. And he had the discipline to act, even when nothing made sense. Action doesn't guarantee success, but inaction guarantees regret. And regret, that's the heaviest weight of all. It's the voice that whispers in the dark. What if you had tried harder? What if you had just started? What could your life have been? Do not carry that weight. Trade it now for risk, for discomfort, for effort. Because while comfort gives you safety, action gives you power. Every step you take is a message to the universe, a signal that says, I am no longer waiting. I am becoming. And the moment you decide to become something more, you awaken something ancient inside of you, something unstoppable. That's the part of you they tried to silence. The part that knows you were not made for smallness. The part that remembers your birthright isn't just survival, it's sovereignty. And when you move from that place, everything changes. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop begging. You start building. Because action, consistent, committed, courageous action, turns the unseen into the unstoppable. And suddenly, the life you dreamed of becomes the life you designed.
But here's what most don't understand. The greatest builders, the real wealth creators, don't just act once. They act again and again, even after failure, even after pain, even when every voice says, give up. They understand that resilience is the true currency of the wealthy. Resilience is not toughness. It's not pretending you're not hurt. It's the decision to keep building, even with bloody hands and broken hope. It's the refusal to let failure have the final word. Every titan of industry has been brought to their knees. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. J.K. Rowling was a single mother on welfare, rejected again and again. And yet, they rose. Not because they were lucky, not because someone chose them, but because they chose themselves again and again, in the face of rejection, in the face of pain, in the face of loss. That's what you must do. Wealth doesn't come to the strongest or the smartest. It comes to the one who refuses to stay down. Because staying down is a choice, and so is rising. Resilience is the proof that your dream is real, that it matters enough to suffer for. And if you're not willing to suffer for it, you're not ready to have it. There will be days when everything feels like it's falling apart, when nothing works, when doubt creeps in like a thief in the night. But in those moments, you are being tested, not punished, prepared. Prepared for the weight of what you asked for. Prepared to carry wealth not just in your bank account, but in your character. Because wealth without wisdom is poison.
it destroys. But wealth built through the resilience, that wealth endures. So when the pain comes, do not run. Let it refine you. Let it forge you. Let it strip away the weakness you didn't even know was there. Because the man on the other side of pain, he is the one who is ready. Ready to lead, ready to grow, ready to build something that lasts. This is what they never taught you. That every time you get back up, you are earning the right to hold more. More responsibility, more opportunity, more wealth. Not just measured in dollars, but in the kind of person you had to become to earn it. And that becoming is the real treasure. The world told you that wealth was in the car, the house, the lifestyle. But those are shadows, reflections of something deeper. Because real wealth is who you are when no one is watching. It's the man or woman you built in private, the one who kept showing up when there was no promise, no payoff, and no praise. That identity, that's where the gold is buried. That's what cannot be stolen, taxed, or lost in a market crash. It's what you carry into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. It speaks before you do. It commands without shouting. It attracts without chasing. And here's the greatest secret of all. Once you become wealthy inside, the outside must catch up. It has no choice, because the external world is simply responding to the level of consciousness you carry. You've heard like attracts like. It's not a cliche. It's physics. It's vibration. It's law. A broke mind cannot sustain a rich life. A weak identity cannot hold a powerful destiny. So you must build you. Invest in your mindset like it's your most sacred asset, because it is. Read what others ignore. Practice what others mock. Do what others won't so you can live how others can't. They never taught you that wealth isn't about chasing, it's about aligning. Aligning your thoughts with your actions. Aligning your energy with your intention. Aligning your words with your worth. And when you finally align, when the inside matches the vision you've held for so long, something shifts. You no longer hope for wealth. You expect it. Not from entitlement, but from alignment. Because you have paid the price. You've fought the wars no one saw. You've done the work in the shadows. And now the light begins to notice. Now the doors start to open. Now the world starts to mirror who you've become. This isn't magic. This is order. This is the reward for becoming the kind of person who can carry the weight of success without collapsing. And that is wealth. That is the truth they never taught. So now the question isn't, will you succeed? The question is, can you handle it when you do? Because wealth isn't just about gaining, it's about stewarding. Can you manage abundance with grace? Can you hold power without letting it corrupt your soul? Can you remain grounded when everything around you is rising? The truly wealthy are warriors of balance. They walk the tightrope between ambition and presence. They strive, yes, but they also listen. They know when to push and when to pause, when to build empires and when to build inner stillness. Gratitude is their anchor. Not the kind you post for attention, but the quiet kind. The kind that sits in silence and says, I remember when I prayed for what I have now. Gratitude is the soil in which wealth blooms sustainably. Because if you can't appreciate what you have now, you'll sabotage everything that's coming next. Most people think they'll be grateful after they succeed. But the wise? No. Gratitude is not a result of wealth. It is a requirement for it. So wake up each day and honor the breath in your lungs, the mind in your skull, the fire in your belly. Because that fire, when guided by discipline, belief, and vision, is unstoppable. And yes, there will be moments when it flickers, when you feel exhausted, when the results don't match the effort, when you wonder if it's even worth it. Those are the moments that define you. The average man waits for life to confirm his worth, but the wealthy man, he declares it. He embodies it. And in doing so, life bends to meet him. This is the law of identity. The law no one taught you in school, that you do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. So become the person your dreams require. Speak like him, think like her, walk into every room with the weight of purpose on your shoulders. Not ego, not arrogance, but knowing. Knowing that you have prepared, that you have endured, that you have earned every ounce of opportunity now orbiting your world. Because when preparation meets alignment, reality changes. And nothing, not your past, not your fears, not the world's opinion, can stop the man who is fully aligned with his purpose.
So now you stand at the edge, not of a cliff, but of a decision to either return to what is safe, what is known, what is normal, or to step into the life that has been calling you since before you knew how to describe it. That voice, it's not fantasy. It's not delusion. It's your higher self pulling you forward into your actual destiny. But here's the price. You cannot take the old version of yourself into the new life you crave. He has to go. She has to die. That lazy voice, that frightened version, that part of you that's addicted to waiting, you must bury it. Because wealth is not given to the person who wants it, it is awarded to the one who becomes worthy of it. And you do that through evolution. You do that through decisions so bold, they make your former self tremble. Through habits so disciplined, they threaten to tear apart the very identity you wore like a second skin. That is transformation. That is rebirth. And that is what no one teaches because it can't be taught. It must be lived. So live it. Speak your future into the present. Act as if the life you desire is already yours. Not because you're pretending, but because you're aligning your energy with what's already waiting for you on the other side of belief. Let the world laugh. Let them doubt. They are not your compass. You are. You were not born to be average. You were not made for mediocrity. You were not placed on this earth to simply exist. You are here to create, to rise, to build, to lead. But it starts now, not someday. Someday is the lie you've been sold to avoid the pain of today. Now is the doorway. Now is the proving ground. Now is where wealth begins, not in your bank account, but in your mindset, your spirit, your choices. So choose. Choose to become. Choose to believe. Choose to act like your future depends on it, because it does.
And when you choose, really choose, the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Not instantly, not painlessly, but inevitably. Because a man on a mission cannot be denied. Not by failure, not by fear, not by the empty noise of doubters who've never dared to build anything themselves. Let them talk. You build. Let them scroll. You study. Let them sleep. You rise. Rise with a hunger that cannot be tamed by comfort. Rise with a purpose so pure it silences every excuse. Rise with a fire so intense it ignites others by proximity. That is how leaders are born. Not from inheritance, but from inner revolution. Not from perfect conditions, but from unshakable decisions. You must become the architect of your life, not the tenant, not the guest, the architect. Draw the blueprint with your vision, lay the foundation with your habits, raise the walls with your discipline, and light every room with your unbreakable belief. Do this, and wealth will follow. Not always in the form you expected, but in the form you earned. Because wealth isn't just money, it's freedom, it's impact. It's waking up with peace in your chest and purpose in your veins. They never taught you that. They taught you how to be useful, not how to be powerful. They trained you to serve a machine, not to build your own. But the moment you remember your power, the moment you own it without apology, the game changes. You stop thinking like a worker. You start thinking like a creator, a builder of worlds, a designer of destiny. And when you think like that, you realize that the system was never broken. It just wasn't built for you. So now you build your own. You create your own rules. You become the standard. You set the tone. No one is coming to save you. And that's your greatest advantage. Because when you stop waiting for rescue, you become the rescuer of your dream, of your family's legacy, of your one precious, wild, and undeniably powerful life. This is the truth about wealth they never taught you. You are the source. You are the strategy. You are the breakthrough. And the world will not give it to you, but it will respond to who you become.
So become the storm they never saw coming. Become the calm force that outlasts chaos. Become the builder who lays bricks in silence until your walls speak louder than any words ever could. Because wealth is not found, it is forged. In the choices you make when it's dark, in the promises you keep when no one's looking, in the battles you fight when everyone else has surrendered. And as you rise, something sacred will begin to happen. The people around you will feel it. Your energy will shift rooms. Your standards will offend the comfortable. Your focus will irritate the distracted. But that is the price of leadership. And wealth is leadership. Of self first, then of vision, then of others. You were never meant to beg for opportunities. You were meant to create them. You were never meant to ask, "Am I enough?" You were meant to decide you are and move like it. Look back at your story. All the pain, the setbacks, the silence, the years where it seemed like nothing was working. Those weren't wasted. They were preparation. Every hardship gave you a piece of the armor you now wear. Every betrayal carved wisdom into your bones. Every lonely night taught you to stand alone. And now you stand different. Not above others, but rooted in something real, unshakable, unbreakable. That is the wealth that doesn't rust. The wealth that isn't shaken by markets or media. It is the wealth of identity. The kind that attracts abundance because it embodies it. So take a breath right now, not to relax, but to remember who you are, what you've been through, what you are still becoming. And then keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. This is your story. You write it in sacrifice. You ink it with discipline. You shape it with every courageous step forward when fear tries to pull you back. This is what they never taught you. You were never chasing wealth. You were awakening it, calling it out of yourself, demanding it from your soul, and finally becoming it. Because you are not here to survive. You are here to rise, to lead, to build, to transform everything you touch, starting with yourself. Now go, create, command, become, and let the world watch as wealth begins to move, not toward the loudest voice, but toward the quiet storm you've become. Because wealth, true wealth, does not announce itself. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg to be seen. It moves with quiet certainty, grounded presence, and precise intent. It's not loud. It's undeniable. You'll know you've stepped into it, not when you buy your first luxury, but when you wake up and no longer need one to feel full. You'll know you've tapped into it when your peace can't be bought and your purpose can't be shaken. When your days are no longer ruled by clocks or bosses, but by the clarity of your mission. And the mission is this: to become so aligned, so fully you, that the world has no choice but to reorganize itself around your presence. This is the power they hoped you'd never discover, because a man who's discovered it cannot be manipulated. A woman who owns it cannot be controlled. A soul who lives it cannot be stopped. You become sovereign, unshackled, unchained. You no longer react to life. You shape it. You no longer fear rejection. You respect redirection. You no longer crave validation. You generate it from within. This is wealth, not just currency, but capacity. The capacity to hold pain and still love, to face loss and still build, to stand alone and still rise. The kind of wealth that lives in your voice, your eyes, your silence. It speaks in how you walk into a room, how you shake a hand, how you honor your word. It's not about more, it's about meaning. Not about having, but becoming. Because the greatest gift of wealth is not what it gives you, it's what it reveals about you. It shows you your power. It demands your integrity. It tests your humility. And it asks you every single day, are you still worthy of this level? And you answer not with words, but with how you live, how you lead, how you treat those with nothing to offer. That's what separates the rich from the truly wealthy. And that is the final truth they never taught you. Wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you build within. And once it's built, the world will mirror it in ways you never imagined. You don't need more tools. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect timing. You need to decide, to rise, to become, and to never look back. Because you are no longer waiting for the world to change. You are the one changing it, from the inside out, from thought to belief to action, to unstoppable wealth. This is the truth they never taught you. And now that you know, it's yours to live, now, completely, unapologetically, and forever. So take this moment right here, right now, and burn it into your soul. Let it be the line you never cross back over, the place where average died and greatness began. Because there are two kinds of people in this world, those who wait to feel ready and those who move in spite of fear. Those who recite their excuses like mantras, and those who break their own patterns until excuses no longer survive. You know too much now. You've seen too clearly. You've heard the truth that schools, systems, and even your past couldn't deliver. And once the truth is seen, it can't be unseen. So here's your call. No more playing small. No more asking for permission to live fully. No more pretending that safety is success. You were built to be a force, a creator of legacy, a generator of value. Not just for yourself, but for generations that will speak your name in reverence, not because of what you had, but because of who you chose to become. Let them doubt. Let them dismiss. You were never here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove yourself right. To step into every room with your head high, not in arrogance, but in awareness of what it took to arrive, what it took to rise from silence, fear, and scarcity, and build a life that reflects your vision, not your limitations. Because you are not here to be average. You are not here to be liked, safe, or approved. You are here to build wealth from within and let it ripple through every part of your life. So build, brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought. Let your habits speak louder than your hustle. Let your peace speak louder than your pride. Let your life speak louder than your lips ever could. And when they ask, where did it all begin? You'll smile, not because it was easy, but because you finally understood. Wealth was never out there. It was waiting inside you the whole time. Now, rise. Let the world adjust to the power of who you've become. Because this is no longer a dream. This is the new reality, designed, declared, and delivered by you. By the one who chose to believe when no one else would. This is the truth about wealth they never taught you. And now, you will never forget it.